So, if you know anything about me, which you shouldn't because I only have like 5 videos, it's that I love zombie media, especially The Walking Dead. So, when I saw the videos of the cutscenes going around on TikTok, I knew I had to make a video on this. Now, I originally planned this video to be more of like a big project, but I'm going to be honest with you, I did not want to put that much effort into this because there was not much effort put into the video game. So what I'm here to present you with is more of like a free form, it's a rant. It's just a fucking rant. So, where to begin? The most notable thing I could bring up right now is that the game was made by Game Mill Entertainment. And if you don't know who Game Mill Entertainment is, well, they're known for such bangers as the Cobra Kai games, Skull Island, Rise of Kong, and who could forget Big Rigs. When I first saw this project, I knew it was going to be shit. Let's be honest, they just really wanted to shove out a game for the Christmas season. And yes, I've seen the reviews, yes, I've seen the TikToks, yes, I've seen everything about it. Yet, to be honest, I was still curious about this game. I tried to talk myself out of it, admittedly. It didn't work, as you can see. So let's just go down the rabbit hole. It's not going to be that deep, honestly. I'm just going to be yelling at the screen for a bit. So, where to start? I could talk about the shitty gameplay. I could talk about the cutscenes. One thing that stuck out with me, though, is the fact that every character uses the same couple of lines. Like, they didn't bother writing any original lines for each character. For example, like, whenever you pick up ammo, every character will say, more ammo is never a bad thing. Whenever you take a healing object or whatever, your character will go, I need someone to take the edge off. This, piled with the fact that their voice acting is not already good, really just grinds my gears. Because the voice lines repeat literally every couple of seconds. You do some, like, you heal, voice line, you reload, voice line, you get hurt, voice line. They are always saying something whenever they shouldn't be, especially when it's like stealth or they should be quiet. It just ruins the immersion, which there's not much of anyways. The entire game looks like a fucking crappy Barbie playhouse. Somehow they made the entire game look cheap, but at least, thank God, they gave us the film grain. Oh, now it feels like I'm playing the show. And the gameplay is not any better. It's by far it's such a basic system. Like, the only most notable things is that, like, whenever you get below, like, I don't fucking know, like, if you're about to die, you'll enter like this. The best way I can describe it is that you go into 2 different stages. You either go into the wrathful stage or the fearful stage, I think. I don't remember. And so basically, wrathful just only allows you to do heavy attacks, and fearful only makes you do dodges. One of the two will get you killed immediately because I would rather be dodging than fighting. Most of the time when I was playing the game, I would just dodge out of every encounter. Because a lot of the time it's just get to this area, get to this area, get to this area. And so I would just roll past the bad guys and just walk to the checkpoint. And I don't get why they bothered doing this, but they have a skill tree. And it has this, giving it some credit, it has an interesting idea where the skill tree is based off of the survivors you have in your group. So if someone dies, you're not going to be able to access their skill tree, which is fairly interesting. I'll give them that. It is interesting. But the thing is that other than that, like, the skill tree is fairly bare bones. It's just, oh, you want to do more damage with shotguns? Go down to Shane's skill tree. Good job, buddy. And, like, honestly, I was able to grab most of the skills before everyone died. I think, like, the only 2 people that, like, died too early before I got, like, far into the skill tree was, like, Maggie and Herschel in my playthrough. And even then, like, I don't feel like I was missing out on much. Like, I think I just missed out on, like, doing more damage on crowbars and hunting rifles. So, oh no. But, let's talk about the most interesting part of the game, and that is the decisions. Now, the decisions are actually pretty interesting. I felt like they're the meat and potatoes of the game, even though they're, like, they take up, like, 5% of the actual gameplay. Like, they're by far the most interesting points of the game, but they barely happen. So, you know, it leads for a very disappointing experience. The first decision you'll find in the game comes between Merle and T-Dog on the rooftop in Atlanta. Now, when I actually did my first playthrough, I thought pretty hard about this, and I went with T-Dog. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Mad Max, you're playing a game where you can make any decision, you can rewrite the story however you want. Why are you going down the same route as the TV show? Well, I actually thought about it. In Season 3 of The Walking Dead, Merle and Daryl talk about how they were originally going to rob the camp and abandon them. But since Merle was left on the rooftop, we never got to see that happen because Daryl was just pretty much forced to stick with the group. And in Season 2, Daryl was really one of the few people to know that Shane killed Otis. And he also knew that Shane killed Randall. So, in my playthrough, I already planned on going down the Shane Walsh route because, you know, Shane's cool. So I wanted to see if this would create some kind of conflict or some kind of, like, consequence for me having Daryl around. So that's why I left Merle behind. Now, as you can probably guess, this was just a case of me thinking too hard because literally nothing happened. Nothing fucking happened. There was no consequence. There was nothing happened. Otis and Randall don't even exist. Yeah, they don't even exist in this game. That's another big issue I have with the Walking Dead Destinies is that I'm just gonna call it WDD or TWDD, whatever, it makes sense. Just so I don't say the game over and over again. One of the big issues that TWDD does is that they erase characters willy-nilly. Like, for example, like, you see Morgan for, like, literally maybe, like, 10 minutes, and then he just vanishes from the game. He does show up later, but, like, you know, doesn't serve much purpose. And Dwayne, his son, he doesn't exist. So the show goes from, like, season 1 to season 2. So you see Morgan when he's, like, sane and insane, but when you see him in his insane point, there's no real reason for him to be insane because his son didn't die. He's just insane just to be insane because it happened in the show, therefore it has to happen in the game. And like I said, Otis doesn't even exist in this game. So when we get the scene of Carl looking at the deer, he's just shot out of nowhere. He just gets his fucking ass blasted and there's no reason on why it happened. The game describes it as he gets shot by a random hunter, which doesn't make it any better. And so you might be thinking, what happens with Shane at the school? Because, you know, at this point in the story in the show, Shane has to go to the school for medical supplies for Carl, but he brings Otis with him so he knows where to look. Now, I'll give the game this. They do a fairly interesting thing with this, actually. They make you choose between bringing Beth and Maggie. And I'm not giving, granted, this is like very small praise, but that's actually fairly cool to raise stakes because, let's be honest, I don't think we have any Otis fans in the Walking Dead community. But when you force us to choose between two actually likable characters that we know we already like, that does create some good tension. So in my playthrough, I chose to bring Maggie because I knew whoever went with Shane to the school is likely not coming back. And I'm gonna be honest, I did it because I wanted to cuck Glenn. I just found it funny, okay? Don't blame me. Don't blame me, okay? It's a little bit funny. Anyways, so skip past all the shitty gameplay. We get to the scene where Shane has to make a decision where he either has to save Maggie or he has to save Carl's medical supplies. And I was kind of surprised that it actually gave me the choice to save Maggie still. I was like, whoa, I actually can leave Carl to die? Holy shit. But I felt like that kind of defeated, you know, Shane's entire thing of like, protect Carl and Lori. So I guess against my better judgment, I decided to save Carl. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that was probably the worst decision I could have made in this game, because literally after I saved Carl, he does nothing for the rest of the game. He's straight up just a background character. And the cutscenes don't make it any better, because they try to create a serious cutscene where it's Herschel on Maggie's grave crying. But I remember when it first happened, I laughed. I laughed. It's just because the animation was so bad, and it was just like a cut from Shane being like, I'm sorry, just to a cut of fucking Herschel crying on the ground. It was funny. It was funny, okay? But the point I'm trying to make is that they don't really have anything going on when it comes to actual consequences of your choices, you know? And granted, I only ever played it once, so I don't know what happens if I made the different decision or whatever. And like I said, I decided to go with the Shane route. And so I guess you could say that this is like the main like selling factor around the game is the Rick and Shane fight. And of course, you've probably seen the fights. You've seen how Rick can tank 15 shotgun wounds to the face. I don't need to explain it to you. It's bad. And again, the game tries to be so deep, and like they play this reminds me of something. Ooh, this is good. Anytime like a certain like if a major plot point is happening in the game, they always play the goddamn show's theme song. So it's like, oh, you're killing Rick, play the theme song. Oh, you're fucking going through Atlanta, play the theme song. Oh, you're fighting Morgan, play the theme song. It happens so often that it's kind of comical. And now that we're on the topic of music, let's talk about the soundtrack, because I don't know what happened. I don't know why, but there's only like 5-ish songs in the entire game. At least from what I can remember, because they reuse the same couple of songs all of the time. Like, there's one that they like to use, and it's like eerie, like sneaky music. But they use it so often, and they rarely ever change the music if it's like getting tense or anything. So you're just hearing the same track loop over and over and over again, and it's just so mind-numbing. It's hard to describe the music without actually just showing it to you. I'm sure if you look up like gameplay, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's numbing. And yes, and moving on to a different topic. Yes, this game is extremely buggy. The one issue that I just annoyed the shit out of me while I was playing, it was the most prominent bug that happened, is that whenever you were playing, and I guess like there's just too much going on, like I guess there's like too many like walker sounds or whatever, the audio would just start cracking up, and it would just like start flickering, and it would drive me insane, because I have some footage. I'll probably put it in if I can find it. But yeah, it happens so often where the fucking audio just breaks, and you're just forced to deal with it for like a couple minutes before it just goes back to normal. And this also happened to me a couple times where if I checked the controls, because of course I'm not going to remember how to play it every time I hop onto it, all the voice lines just go silent for some reason. I don't get how that makes sense, but it just does. And so with the voice lines I just mentioned, you get like a weird mixture of just the characters repeating voice lines of just "go to hell." Wow, 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 wow. It's just like a huge like concoction of feces just plastered onto my TV screen. So, what are some things that I do like about the game? There was one point in the game that I actually thought was really fucking cool, and it was the point when we get to Michonne trying to find her katana and leave Woodbury, and where she discovers the governor's zombified daughter. She's about to kill it, but it gives you the option to sympathize with him. And I thought that was cool, because when you choose to sympathize with him, the governor becomes a playable character. I was like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. That's actually really cool. Then again, it makes me think about, why the hell was he so close to being the governor? How would the death of his zombified daughter really push him over the edge? And I can see how that would push his insanity more and more if you killed his daughter. But then again, like, he was still a prick at this point of the show. But then again, it's such a cool concept that they did, but they don't do anything after it. It's like, oh, okay, do you have Philip Blake or the governor? You have Philip Blake. Good job. It's like they don't do anything with it, you know? It's like they have an already cool concept, but they just don't push it to anything interesting. Like, how does this affect the story? How does this change anything? Really, all it does is change Merle to the governor. Like, instead of it being Philip Blake, it's gonna be Merle Dixon for some reason. Even though I don't get why he's so like, I don't get why he would go through the entire governor arc. And also, when Merle becomes the governor, he's also oddly homicidal towards his brother. Because Daryl gets captured eventually, and he's put in a small arena with the chained zombies, you know, from the show, and he's fighting against Philip Blake because he gets captured too. And for some reason, like, you think Merle would like care for his brother a little bit, but no, he's just like, fuck this guy. He even rigs the game by giving the governor a shotgun. So I'm like, man, he just really wants his brother dead for no particular reason. Like, you think, because even in the show, he was like, holy shit, my brother's still alive. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. But no, like, he was just like, nah, fuck you, Daryl. Like, that's really what the entire game is. It's a cool concept, but they just don't do fucking anything with it. And I knew that it was going to be like this from the start, like, because a concept like this would have taken years to actually execute it properly. But what AMC or what Game Mill Games or whatever, blame whoever you want, really all they wanted was a game to push on store shelves for the Christmas season, because it came out December 1st, you know. They just wanted a quick buck. It's shovelware. It's Game Mill. I don't know what you're expecting. But it just makes me frustrated a little, you know, because I don't understand how people can so easily put their name on projects like this and be like, yep, I want to be credited for this piece of shit game. You know, I want people to remember me for this. Like, you have to have some kind of standards when it comes to what you're shoveling out into the world. And what you're saying is like, yep, I'm okay with putting this shit out. I'm okay with my name being on it. I'm okay with people relating this game to me. I just, come on, because we already know that Game Mill has a bad reputation, and AMC, or I guess we could just say The Walking Dead, just to add a more broad definition, they haven't really released any good games other than the Telltale games and Saints and Sinners from what I've seen. So, you know, they've have a pretty rocky history as is, and I don't know what I was expecting. Like, I was just, it just makes me wish that they could have done something more with this, because this is a cool concept. Having a what if, choose your own adventure kind of esque game with the Walking Dead show, that would have been so fucking cool to see. But again, they just didn't want to put any effort into it. See, what happened is that he chose to go with a half measure when they should have gone all the way. And I could go on about it, but then again, I'm not like that passionate about this topic because, you know, let's be honest, it's the fucking Walking Dead Destinies. Like, you're lucky that you're even getting a video in the first place. So, I guess the last thing I can say is, look at the flowers. Just look at the flowers. Look at the flowers. Walking Dead. Go. Just keep looking up. Shh.